Now that we've opened the interaction with a greeting and validation, it's time to start to investigate and diagnose the issue. After all, they're not just calling us to chit-chat. So no matter what type of service we are providing, there are some simple customer service techniques we can utilize to investigate and diagnose properly. The key to successfully investigating and diagnosing lies in two key areas: questioning and listening. The process requires us to listen and question and question and listen. It's a process that repeats throughout the interaction of the life cycle and requires us to be very skillful in our delivery. There are different types of questioning techniques that can be employed to gather useful information from a customer so we can effectively investigate and diagnose the issue. We are going to review 4 specific types of questions: closed, open, probing, and confirming. These questions are all equal in power. What we have to determine is when is the best time to use each type of question. So let's get started with closed-ended questions. Closed-ended questions have answers that are simply yes or no, or are limited to a few options. These closed questions allow us to help guide the call, rein in that talkative or emotional customer, and gather valuable information to troubleshoot the issue. In our greeting and validation, we recommended asking for validating information, such as a unique customer identifier. Examples we discussed included a customer ID number, a computer tag, or social security number. We typically start our process with a closed-ended question, but we can use them throughout the contact whenever needed to help keep the conversation on point. One of the key components to asking closed-ended questions is to start the question with a verb. Verb examples include such words as can, may, are, is, does, will, have, could, would, and should. By using these verbs, they help us to signal to the customer that you need specific pieces of information, and you're trying to narrow down the information that you need as well. What are some examples of additional closed-ended questions that you use at your desk? Take a minute to think about them and write down at least 3 questions using the verb examples we've just discussed. Now, it's often helpful to think about a common issue or request that you receive. Here are some examples of closed-ended questions. May I have your first name? Are you seeing an error message on the screen? Could you show me that screen again? We can also use closed-ended questions to inform the customer and gain agreement before we begin our questioning process. It helps to set the expectations and control the call for the customer. And it sounds something like this.
I'm going to ask a few questions that will help diagnose the issue. Is this okay?
Once you gain agreement, another technique that can be used in certain situations is to let the customer know that you are specifically going to ask them closed-ended questions. This is extremely helpful when you're working with a confused or uncertain or emotional or even a really talkative customer. This allows them to simply respond without needing to give a lot of extra information. For example,
I'm going to ask a few yes or no questions to isolate the issue. Did this issue start today? It did. Okay. Is anyone around you also experiencing this issue? Okay, thank you. That helps. Did you click on the corporate icon to get into the program? No.
Think about how you can incorporate the verbs into your closed-ended questions. Also, when are the best times to utilize them throughout the life cycle of the contact?